All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. So it's session number 9. Can you believe it? Time flies when we're having fun. So we have one more. Can't believe it. That's okay. I run these periodically throughout the year, so you can join another one if you're having so much fun. I hope so. Okay. So, of course, we start with a weekly check-in. So what is working? So let's just check in. This is a no judgment, no shame zone. We're just checking in, right? So how did the week go? You had a tactic you were going to do this week. How did it go? Or if it's been 2 weeks since we had our session, you had two tactics. So how did it go? And if it didn't go, that's okay. So we call that our execution score. Again, no shame, no judgment. It's just like if we thought we would do something, why didn't we do it? Are we afraid of it? Is it scary? Are we not sure we want the information? Is it that we just, overbooked ourselves? What do you think? So it's okay to think like, hey, that didn't go well, and I'm gonna think about why that didn't go well. And we have to honor our emotions about change. So we need to do some just emotional assessment. When I think of that task, I get like nervous, I get my heart rate up. That will happen to me. And then I think, okay, why? Why am I having those feelings? Or I just don't even have to know why. It just like, there they are. Those like, I'm getting a little sympathetic thinking about it. Okay, well, that's how change is uncertain, and change may raise those certain emotions. Okay, so that might be why I'm avoiding them. It's that fight or flight. It's scary. It's scary to do something new. That's okay. Just like, oh, there you are. That feeling is there, and so I'm then avoiding that action. So again, we just want to think of the feelings and then put a pause in there, a little moment to think, what action can I take? Because we direct our actions. Our emotions may come and go, but we can put that pause in between to say, give that little space. Say, yeah, I feel that sympathetic feeling because my body's like, oh, that's a new thing to do. And first thing is fear. Am I allowed to do that? Number one is like, there's like some rule gods up there telling us we're not allowed to do something. There's that because of our cultural background and our societal teachings. Women, quiet, stay in line, stay in your guardrail. So we have to see, like, are we addressing kind of societal norms? Maybe that's where some of those feelings come from because I feel like I'm bucking the system a little bit. And that may be also not a comfortable place for us, right? Because in society, we are taught to be, we're praised when we're quiet and following the norms. Okay, so sometimes that's me. That's why sometimes I get those feelings like, who else is doing this? Why am I doing this? I always like to find women docs that are doing new things because then like if we stay together, that's why I build this WAG group. If we do things together, there's comfort in that, right? And we know that's how as humans find safety. We talk about it at work with psychological safety. And today our topic about angle your anger. We're going to talk about that safety, that feeling of being angry, that feeling of fear, how all of that wraps us up, and sometimes then wraps us so tight we don't make any moves. So we have to know what the societal norms are, what the societal messages are, even if they're not, distinctly written somewhere, just the messages we're given that may keep us from taking action. Okay, so back to checking in on your weekly tactic. How did it go? Did you do it? Did you not do it? If not, then you think about why didn't I do it? And just imagine yourself doing it, like see yourself doing it. What are the feelings that come up? Or imagine yourself celebrating that you did it. Because sometimes we just have to think of the good stuff, right? Okay, so we think about that execution score. If you said you were going to do 10, call 10 friends and review your thoughts with them or something, did you get to 3 of them? Did you get to 10 of them? What is your execution score of the week? Again, no judgment, just kind of where are you with this? And then what are your intentions for the upcoming week? What are those? We know we envisioned, we set our goals, and then we have our weekly tactics like little sticky notes to get us to our goals, which will get us closer to our vision, right? So what is a tactic you're going to take this week? So make sure to write that down, or email me at thebrainfresh@gmail.com. Just tell me your weekly tactic. And then give yourself some constructive, kind feedback about those things. Am I having feelings? Am I just trying to follow the societal norms of not bucking the system? because we always got praised for that, right? Are there feelings I just have to write down each day? We talked about fine-tuning our emotions each day through work to keep us productive. And what did that mean? That meant 3 times a day, just listing 3 feelings. That's just emotional awareness. I noticed when I did that, that my feelings became more negative throughout the day because I was tired, and I was probably lower glucose and I'd seen a bunch of patients or what have you. And I was feeling tired by the end of the day. And that's okay. That's just where I was. It wasn't a judgment thing, but it helped me to see like if my kids approach me into the day about something or my husband, I'm starting off at a negative zone. So I have to just that awareness helps me plan my conversations. And of course, if I'm working on a talk or something, I usually don't do a lot at night. Night for my big high thinking activities. I'm more of a morning person. Okay. So any resources that helped you this week, feel free to share with colleagues and friends or us here in the Brain Fresh community. Again, when we're looking at this, we can look up here at the community and you could send a little message here of something that helped you. Okay. I love the book Fair Shake. Fair Shake. I mean, I guess I loved it because of the insight that it provides, but it is hard to read because it brings the stories of women that have brought suits to their employers looking for equity in the workplace and how all the retribution they had in the workplace trying to stand up for things that were going wrong or standing up for programs or standing up for colleagues or again bucking the system and how negative consequences can happen to them for bringing those things up. So oddly enough, I had 2 colleagues this week who that happened to them where they brought up things in the workplace and they personally had retributions against them for standing strong about doing the right thing in the workplace. And that's exactly what this book talks about, is case after case after case of women bringing up challenges or inequities in the workplace, or potentially even ethical issues, and then the woman getting the retribution for it. So it's called Fair Shake. Fair Shake. So that was very interesting to me this week, a resource to look into just to get some insight of what is the lay of the land. Okay, but this week, so any questions about that, just put it in the comments, about your week, your weekly plans, um, your execution score, and your intention for the upcoming week. Feel free to share it in our community up here. I'm going to stop sharing and then just talk about our topic of the week, which is angling your anger. Okay, I have my coffee. This is from a good friend of mine. So I'm the one with the red. And these are my 2 friends. Isn't that cute? And it says on this side, my lipstick, you're my people. Isn't that cute? That was, she gave it to us on a friend weekend. We just had a weekend together. So it's so important to have good friends if that's something you're building, because sometimes friends will come and go just depending on what you're interested in, where you are in life. It's okay to have to build your friends. And that's all right. So sometimes you're like reaching out and having coffee with people because you're building some new friendships, and that's normal. That's okay. But it's also great to honor old friendships. So let's have a sip of coffee. Here's to friends. Okay, so this week we are going to talk about angling your anger. What do I mean by that? Well, that was a huge aha moment for me when I learned more about anger and insights into where it comes from and what it can do for us, actually. So I did not know this. I usually try to avoid it because, I can do that. I can get angry about things, of course. And I would think, oh, that's a waste of time or that's going to derail me or what have you. But turns out there's really interesting information about anger. So a great book, a resource to share that really meant a lot to me and helped me to learn more about this is called from Dr. Stephen Berglass. Stephen Berglass. And he shared the power of anger. He made it really understandable. So he's a psychiatrist who's also a coach who coaches executives. So the book is called Stay Hungry and Kick Burnout in the Butt. Steve Berglass, Berglass. I could share it with you. But it's a very instructive book for me because it taught me a few things. Number one, 3 surprising things about anger. Okay. Number one, anger is a secondary emotion. So when we feel anger, we actually felt something else first. So usually we feel devalued, hurt, ashamed, something before anger. So I thought that was interesting. So So again, that emotional assessment that we're starting to do 3 times a day, 3 feelings a day, it'll help us gain some insight into it, get some more emotional awareness. And we might be able to pick up what was the first emotion before we felt anger. Because it wasn't always readily apparent to me either. But now that I learned that, I can sometimes find it, or it takes me sometimes, but usually I can find it. Um, so a lot of times for me, it's value, feeling devalued. The other thing he reminded us about anger is sometimes it's because, this is surprising fact number 2, is that it gives us energy to change, anger. So it gives us that, like, this is not right, this is wrong, this is unfair. And then so all of that energy can go towards changing whatever it is that made you angry, or whatever emotion was first, obviously. So first there's an emotion, usually sadness, um, feeling devalued, something where you're insulted, and even that first thing also can be crossing one of your deep values. So you can feel insulted, devalued because someone's not honoring your values. And in this program, we outlined our values, right? So this is a good time to get out our values, right? Get those out, make sure they're on your desk somewhere, so you know your values. And then when you're angry about something, check back with your values. Like, did it cross one of those values? Something so important to you is just like your line in the sand, right? Like you're not willing to, to have anyone cross that. And that may be where the anger comes from. Is that surprising to you? Email me. Yes, yes, that's surprising. So it was surprising to me, and it helps me make sense of anger then, right? So there's values, things that are really important to us, right? Our lines in the sand. Sometimes when they're crossed, we get angry, and there's an emotion in there in between the anger first. Okay. So 3 surprising things about anger. Number 1, it helps us clarify what's important to us. Number 2, it gives us energy to change. Number 3, it can really lead to new foundations, or a new program, or you taking a new action. So anger can really help to build things that really change the world. So in his book, he gives example after example of people who were angry about a situation and then did something to change the world. So the one that I always remember, and I'm just impressed with it, is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So there was a woman whose daughter was hurt. I don't think she was killed, but she was hurt by a drunk driver. And the mom, of course, went to the court case and things. And the man that was drunk that hit her daughter really didn't have a lot of consequences. I think he had community service or something. And she was like, this isn't it isn't right. It isn't equitable. It's like, her daughter was hurt. And so it's, again, so let's see, that anger thing comes because of value. So her value maybe was family or fairness or community well-being. And it was cut there. That was not honored. So anger. And anger led to a lot of energy toward her learning more about the policies, her local government policies, her legal policies, and getting active in that in space. And so she started to be an advocate for, the victims of drunk driving, and then became a local advocate in the government, and then became a national advocate, and then formed this movement, and this, I think it's a foundation of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, because something horrible happened to her daughter and her family. And it crossed the line of her values, and she became angry. Is that interesting? So 3 surprising facts about anger to know more about, because they actually can have some really amazing some outcomes, right? So number 1, it helps to clarify what is important to us when we feel that anger. We have to kind of take time to figure it out. Number 2, it gives us energy to actually change something that's the status quo. P.S. That's why I built Brain Fresh, because I wanted to change the status quo. And 3, people that have built like amazing things, a lot of times if you back up to foundations and cool things that have been built, it's because they felt angry, which gave them energy because their values were not honored. Isn't that cool? Okay, so yeah, the bonus information of the top 3 things is that anger is a secondary emotion. So when we feel angry, we already felt something else first. If you want more about this, read that book called Stay Hungry and Kick Burnout in the Butt by Steve Burglass. He explains this very clearly and gives stories to help it come to life. But the Mothers Against Drunk Driving was a story that just made it just really come to life for me. Okay. So I think it's really important, again, like we've talked about in this program, to keep the values on your desk. You have learned your core values in this program. Good job. Which helps us understand what our brain likes and needs. You have figured out your purpose, which is the reason you do things in life, right? So your core purpose may be achieved at work. It may be also achieved in your community, in your household, in your family. So our values, we need to keep front and center. We need to know what our brains like, what's important to our brains, right? Because when we don't have those things, we might get that anger. And we don't want to live in anger. We want to live in solutions, but we want to gain insight from that anger phase. Okay. So when we feel anger, we want to step back and think, okay, let's go back to our values that we learned in our WAG group, right? Oh, this is crossing X value, right? So one of my core values, like innovation, I love learning, I love new ideas. And I felt super angry one day after a meeting when someone said to me, it's too late for you to keep growing or learning because I was 52. This is many years ago. I'm not 52 anymore. And I thought, what? I got so angry about that. I built Brain Fresh. So, anger can really lead to energy to actually do that thing that means something to you. Isn't that neat? So this book really just showed me the power of anger, and that we need to give it its full, we need to honor it, right? So it can actually give us that energy to do something amazing and change this world. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is one example. And that's only one of the examples. So a lot of people have done amazing things. In this book called Fair Shake, about women in the workplace, there's many examples of women that were crossed in the workplace. They just documented what was inequitable to them, brought them to the courts, and the courts were like, it doesn't matter, or it's not enough to do anything about. Well, a lot of them would go and build a foundation to help women. So they would take that energy, that anger, and do something. So we have to honor the power of the brain to feel, to say, hey, this is so important to me. I'm so, like, now I feel anger about it, that I'm willing to take the action. Because a lot of times we have ideas, we live in our ideas. Oh, I wish X was different. I wish we had these opportunities. I wish people knew this. But then there's a lot of wishes, like we've done with our envisioning. We know we envision amazing things, right? Like we have a dream, we want to get to X place, and our goals are here. But how do we take action? Sometimes anger is the thing that gets us to take action. So sometimes people have joined this group just because they're angry about it, angry about something. They're angry, they don't feel like they're growing. Like me, like I was like, I love to grow. I love to learn. I love to figure things out, gain insight, and read the research and take action because of the research. So to say it was too late for me, I mean, I'm a mom of four. I was just getting going, right? Like the kids were just getting older and I had all this time to really dive into things. I thought, that is not right that it's over for me. Mm-mm-mm. So today this lesson is about anger, right? And the power of anger. So I call it angle your anger. So help that power of anger just take off, right? So that you can angle it and just help it to build and fuel your vision, right? So you can get those weekly tactics done towards your goal, towards your vision, right? So everything loops back to the vision. Okay. We got the weekly tactics to the goal, to the vision, right? Okay. So whenever we're thinking, and whenever we have something at work or at home and we have that anger, we want to take a pause now. Okay. Think, what just happened? What were the initial feelings? And then go get your vision and your value and your purpose sheet out. And what was crossed? Like what comes to mind that something was threatened? One of your values were threatened, or your purpose was threatened. Something that's really important to your brain to get it done was threatened. That's the anger. What do you think? Makes sense? Okay. So the resource this week are two books, Fair Shake and also Stay Hungry and Kick Burnout in the Butt, by Steve Berglass. Okay. So I want you just to be aware this week when you feel a little bit angry, a little bit frustrated, because obviously there's gradations of anger, frustration, annoyed, maybe annoyed first, frustrated, angry. So all of those things, take a pause. What happened before? What were the first emotions? And then get your value and your purpose sheet out. What was crossed? Okay. Because our brain loves those values, right? And it loves our purpose. And so that's why sometimes like I'm not aligned right now because you're not living in them. Right. So we have to honor that. That's like that meeting for me. It was just like, that is not who I am. I mean, I might not be growing here in this situation, but I went off and learned about starting a business and started Brain Fresh because I was like, I need a place to grow because and learn and read the research and have people around me that are growing because that's it's so important to me. That is my core value. Okay. Okay. So remember your vision. Just keep reviewing your vision. Your brain needs to dream because sometimes we just see our reality. We think, oh, that's not real. We're not sure we can get to it. Keep looking at your vision. Tell your brain you can do it. Make sure you're celebrating when you get your weekly tactics done. Or if you listen to this video, celebrate yourself. Like do something nice for yourself. What is it? Have a nice cup of coffee, go for a walk, go get your nails done. I'm getting my nails done later today. And I'm going to do my exercise class in the water after this, which I love because it's fun, ladies, and we just chat and it's so beautiful outside. So those are the things I'm celebrating after being with you this morning. I'm doing what I love. And so that's a celebration for me. And I celebrate me. And I want you to learn to celebrate you. And when you do a little something, celebrate it, right? Because it's really important to show the brain, like, this is great. Like, even though it takes energy, I'm going to celebrate what you did. Because whenever we say yes to, we're saying no to other things. So maybe you had to say no to your family or no to something else in order to take time to review this. So make sure you're celebrating yourself. Okay. Pat yourself on the shoulder at the very least, but get up, do a dance, whatever you need to do, whatever your celebration looks like, whether it's just sitting down and looking at the trees, blowing the wind, whatever it is, it's just something that for you is a celebration that you took time for yourself. You're learning about yourself. You're learning what's important to yourself so you can determine your next steps and you can determine what to say yes and no to because you know your values and you know your purpose. And now you know what anger is showing you. And that's wonderful because your brain is responding to it. Your brain is saying, like, this is not what's important to me. After I got out of that meeting, I had steam coming out of my ear. I felt like, and I was so mad for so long. And then I was like, what can I do about it? And so I learned more about neuroscience of like professional development because these things have to be in place. Like we have to align with what's important to our brain. Our brain was made a certain way to do certain things, and it can keep growing in those areas, but it has a certain preference. And so I think, this really understanding it is really important because when we align, it feels great, doesn't it? Then you can celebrate it. Okay, and then set your weekly tactic. Okay, this is session 9. So we're going to end at session 10. So set your weekly tactic. And now you're learning this process and so that you keep going. Can you imagine how many weeks in the year if you do one new thing each week? Come on. That's amazing. All right, you got this. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for sharing your time with me. This ends session 9.